Hello class, my name is Laura Avila and today I will be talking immigration policies and effects, but more specifically about the amount of immigrants that there are in our population and how big of an impact they create in our society and economy, and how these immigration policies can be extremely unfair when it comes down to keeping families together, as well as even knowing that they could improve our society overall, and yet these immigration policies really stop people from coming in and giving these insights. So today I will also be using my visual aid that I created beforehand to be able to show some statistics as well as some of the quotes that some people have mentioned to back up my argument. So before I get started and talk about immigration policies, I do want to quote CNN reporter Priscilla Alvarez, who wrote an article on October 22nd, 2022, which is a really new article. It does show that this issue is relevant and is still something that's up for discussion constantly. So she states that U.S. border authorities encounter more than 2 million migrants, some of whom repeatedly tried to cross the border in fiscal year 2022. And while you may think, why do we need to know this information? I think it is very important for us to be aware about the amount of people who are trying to come into our country. Of course, here in the Imperial Valley, a lot of us are from migrant parents or grandparents, and that's why, because of their sacrifice, that we're now able to live here in the United States. And so, for me, it is very important to let the audience know that, or surrounding people living here in the valley as well as other areas, that immigration is a big thing and it is something that maybe a lot of people are not aware of, but it does happen. And for more than 2 million migrants to be stopped at the border, it just shows the amount of people who are coming in. And this is not counting the people who probably made it through CBP. And so by looking at this and when I read this, I got curious and I wanted to see the full report that the US Customs and Border Protection had. And so I was able to find a report from 2017 to 2022. The number that matters to us in this context, as far as people who try to cross the border and the enforcement actions that CBP took, it's right under US Border Patrol total encounters. It is the total enforcement actions located at the bottom left of your screen, and we can see the difference between 2017, 18, 19, 20, 21, and 2022. So we can see that by 2019, we already had hit 1 million migrants who were trying to come in and they were stopped. Of course, 2020 is the big exception because of COVID and the big restrictions that people had in their own countries. By 2021, the number skyrocketed again. And for a record, we can see that by 2022, the number nearly doubled. So we can see how there are a lot of people who are still interested in coming into the United States to seek a better life. And so the next piece of data I want to talk about is the US migrant population hit record 43.7 million in 2016. And so you may also be wondering why I chose 2016. At the time, we were not aware about what would happen in regards to the pandemic. Immigration was a big thing. And one of the main things that occurred there was the election in which Donald Trump was elected. And of course, he spoke very rudely of immigrants. You would think that this would discourage the amount of people who would be coming in, but it does not. We can see that 13.5% of the population in the United States were immigrants. And so by 2060, it is projected to be 18.8%, which would be 78.2 million immigrants in the United States. So it just comes to show how big the population is going to increase and how very this minority group is going to be extremely large at one point in time. And so now you may be wondering what the impact that this population has. And so this pie chart really shows the jobs that these people are in. Of course, the biggest jobs are professionals in scientific and management, as well as administrative and waste management. We have food services, manufacturing and retail, construction, and other services, except of public administration. And something that we can see in common in all of these is that a lot of them do not require a lot of education, including transportation, warehousing, trade. And most of these jobs would fall under the categories that people wouldn't usually want, which is one of the big reasons that immigrants, while people really do not like them coming in and they do claim that they steal our jobs, in reality, they're taking the jobs that people may not necessarily want always. Now, where does immigration policy come into this? While these people are trying their best to succeed in their own lives, nearly 4 in 5 families screened in family detention centers have credible fear of persecution should they be forced to return to their countries. And this is stated by the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services. So, as we can see in the picture, no human being is illegal. In reality, the people that are coming in to work and do the things that they're doing, they're not doing it to create any trouble in the US. They're instead trying their best and they're trying to bring a better life for their children and families. And these immigration policies are causing a ton of stress for these people. We have 5.9 million children who have one caregiver who lacks authorization to live in the US, and deportation and threats of deportation negatively impact mental health, which is really affecting the Hispanic community mostly, as well as the immigrant population, which is a big gap in what they can achieve. And so we can see, like I mentioned, that there's a lot of pros to having immigrants come in. Of course, that's seeing economic growth and more flexible labor markets. And of course, we do see that there may be a potential fall in real wages and an increased pressure on public services. But when we look at it, we would have a greater cultural diversity as well as a solution to an aging population and a better increase in pros rather than cons in immigration. And so, what can we do about this? In reality, there's a lot of things we can do, but one of the main things that you can do is learn about how to not spread misinformation about immigrants and immigration, as well as supporting immigrant youth while they're going through this difficult process. You could go to protests, sign petitions, and whenever you see somebody who may be an immigrant and they need help, open, spread your arms open and try to aid them on the best way possible. So this is my presentation, and I appreciate you listening to my speech today.